Hello and welcome to the Created to Write show. Today I am joined by Pedro, and if I try and say your name, I will get it wrong.
I did pretty well with the first one, but the last one is always tricky. I've got four names, actually.
Yes, tell us your names.
Yes, Pedro Alexandrino Militão do Nascimento. It's a
And
big
where are you
name.
from, Pedro? Because you don't sound very Australian.
Nah, originally from Brazil. So I was born and raised in Brazil, left Brazil when I was 21 to the beautiful country of New Zealand, Aotearoa. So I spent 7 years of my life there, which was crucial to my journey and everything that I do with church. And then we moved back to Brazil to plant a church, and now we're here in Australia with our mother church to try to plant more churches. That's been my life story.
Hmm. And train up disciples and train people in the ways of the word.
Yeah, that's it. As part of the journey of planting churches, there's an element of equipping people. So we have a Bible school that we run here,
Hmm.
which is a free Bible school in person. We were just talking offline. Why don't we have anything online? We want to enforce the fact that it is in person so people can build community. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I love what I do. There's a Bible school. There is we're ordaining people into ministry, which is also good to serve the city. And there is a church planting. We Since I arrived back in Australia, we've planted one church on top of the one that we already had, which is in Pimpama, and then we're moving on to our third church, which is going to be in Burley, a church that I'm going to lead soon. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, exciting. I haven't heard about that one. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, yeah. There's a bit of a secret, but it's starting
It's
to
out
become public
now.
anyway. Yeah.
You've told the world. And what is the Bible school called if people want to look
Um,
it
yeah, the Bible school sits under an organization called Full Gospel Apostolic Center. I
up?
think just to match my name, four names. We had four names for the for the organization. But yeah, Full Gospel Apostolic Center. If you if you search that name or if you search fgacaustralia.org, you will find our website and everything that we do. All of the church planning programs, the Bible school, everything in there. It's all in there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And you have written books.
Yes, thanks for having me on your podcast about books. I am passionate about that. I've been a bookworm since I was a teenager, so I love reading. Luckily, my daughters also love reading, so they consume everything. And as part of this journey to make disciples and plant churches, I found myself many times having conversations with people about their purpose of life. And it was a sort of a natural progression. Every time I would come home, my wife would ask me how the day went, and I would tell her the same thing. Or we had conversations with such and such persons, and we talked about life purpose. And she suggested that I would put that in the book. It's like, well, why don't you put those stories in the book? Why don't you write a book about it? So I decided to study a little bit more, and then went on a journey that took me about 2 years. That was my sort of research phase. So read everything you can name on the idea of life purpose and your why. So on the top of my bookshelf here, I have my crucial books that I've read in research to write my book. So anything from entry level Tony Robbins motivation to Simon Sinek Find Your Why to some specific authors like I like very much an author called Arthur Brooks, who's a Harvard professor, wrote a few books. Mo Goddard, which is he used to be a CEO of a big organization within Google. So all of these guys wrote books about purpose. So I read them all, studied them all, highlighted it, and I realized that there was one thing missing in all of these books, which was God. Like these guys don't talk about God openly. So I thought, I'll take that challenge and then I'll put all these ideas together because they all make sense. I believe that we're made unique. I believe that God made us unique. I am unashamed about the gospel, and I see in everything that they wrote there was that piece missing. So I wrote my book as a collection of all these types of information, plus a philosophy. That's the book in English, and that's the book in Portuguese. Different, colorful thing, and it's based on the Japanese philosophy called Ikigai, which is sort of a diagram to help people find their purpose in life. But there's a few more things embedded in the book. But I've been leaving that idea of having a purpose of life every day, balancing my life with everything that I do, making sure that everything aligns, making sure that what I do is pleasant to myself, but also necessary into the world. And then that became the book.
Mm. Awesome. So in there's a lot of wannabe writers and people who have just started writing who watch this. Have you ever had writer's block, and how have you dealt with it if you have?
Yeah, writer's block is not really something that I dealt with in depth, to be honest. But I think it's because I'm naturally extrovert, so I'm a verbal processor. So I process things as I'm speaking, and most of the times this gets me into trouble. But the easiness of just expressing myself, I remember when I decided to write the book, because I had read quite a few books before. I took on the journey to just literally journal everything. So if I thought about something, I would put it on that journal called my book, one day my book. And I remember when I started writing this book, one of the things that I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do is to write a book with 300 pages if I only needed 50. I didn't want to have that. It's a nonfiction book, so it's supposed to be very practical. And I have many books on my shelf that they could have been written in 70 pages, but they use 400 pages. So I didn't want to do that, and I know editors and publishers will do that because you have to justify the cost and all that. So as I've finished, I think I had a manuscript of close to 250 pages, and I had it in my mind I was going to take it down to 100. It had to be really quick, read it in 2 hours, done. And the process for me was more eliminating than thinking about things because I had a lot of notes in there. So yeah, there was easier. But I do think that if I'm gonna start from the scratch, I'm probably gonna have a hard time processing the whole thing. So a lot of people are using AI these days. Chuck an idea out there, see what AI
Mm.
says, and then just go back and forth. I think that someone who's writing the book should put their full personality in it and leave AI behind. But that's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, AI can't write with a heart
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we humans have.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah, I actually tried it. I did a little experiment and I played with AI, and everything it spat at me, I have to rewrite completely anyway. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And some people think that it might help you do your job faster. And admittedly, that there are probably things that we could use AI to do it faster, but writing is not one of them.
mm,
You want to take the time. I remember I watched Simon Sinek, one of my favorite authors, talking about his book, and he said, I am a better person, not because the book was written, but because I wrote the book.
mhm,
And he was trying to explain the difference, and he was emphasizing the process of writing that book made me a better person, not the fact that I have a book published and written. That's an outcome, but the fact that I've devoted time and energy and a thought process and a lot of struggles to put these words into writing, into paper, that makes me a better person.
mm.
Yeah.
Love that. And when you connect with your readers, what do you learn in that process?
um I try to make my book to be very practical. So
Mhm,
I've got a few testimonies, and pretty much every month there's someone who comes back to me with, "Oh, I've read your book and I started doing this and doing that." Because at the end of the book, there's a test, and they're supposed to take on a journey to write things down. So what I like to see the most is people going, "You changed my life because at the end of the day, I found God when I was reading your book." That's what I like to see the most. Not everyone goes there, although it is explicit. There's a lot of explicit truths about the gospel in there and God. Not everyone, a lot of people skip through their part and my testimonial in the book. But that's what I like to see when people come back and say, look, I might not take the next step and start a business or do something, but my life, my perspective in life is different. I see things different. So I really enjoy that part.
and what's been the highlight so far since you've had the book published?
I think the book launch was the highlight.
Where did
Well,
you do it? When was that?
when was it? Maybe 4 months ago. 4 months
Mhm,
ago, the English version. Because I've had this book published in Portuguese for 3 years. I was in Brazil when I did it, and it was one of the last things I did. I was pastoring a church there. My family and I, we moved to Brazil to plant a church, and then after that, we returned to Australia to do more church planting. But I wrote the book, and when I came here, I thought I'm gonna do this as an experiment. I'm gonna launch the book in Australia, and I went through a whole journey of finding an editor, putting it all back together. To be honest, as the first book that I published, I wasn't really happy with the design and all of that. It was not what I expected. So I
mhm,
wanted to do the book from the scratch by myself. So I literally I took every page and I designed every single page on Canva. I sat on Canva and I designed every single page, put them all back together, and then the editor, when I hired the editor, he said, "All of the work that you've done is waste. We can't do that. We have to put it on InDesign." And
In
I'm like,
design.
"Oh my gosh, okay." So I worked really close with them. So that was longer than a year to
Mm-hmm.
publish something that was already ready. Like it was already written. So when we launched it, a bunch of friends came together and we had this big party, and we had a guy playing a few songs, and it kind of looked like a church service. So I gave him a 20 minutes spiel of what the book was about with the message about God. And we had two guys over there that weren't Christians and started to get closer to God and walking the journey. So I mean, mission accomplished.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, I have to give you credit for challenging me to read the Bible through.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
Beginning of last year, you challenged us at church one day to read the Bible through. And I attempted to do the shred that my kids do in a month.
Mhm.
No good for me. So the first time I read it through was 9 months. And then I've also partnered with Summer Day, and she's on a mission to get 1 billion people to read the Bible cover to cover.
Come on.
So I've done that with her as well now.
That's
So
awesome.
I love what you stand for. I love how you encourage people to get closer to God and to live out their purpose here on earth.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It gives me great pleasure to see that that is the direction we're going in. I
Yeah,
think if we call ourselves Christians, we should at least understand what the Bible tells us about our faith, about our Savior. So why not?
absolutely. And for the people who haven't put their thoughts down on paper or haven't started writing that book yet, that are thinking about it, what would you say to them?
Um, I I would probably go down in the direction that I went down when I was looking for mentors and people telling me, as they say that the book is your everlasting memory. If I'm not here tomorrow, and a lot of people see YouTube these days like this, like I have a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and surely my daughters, if I'm not here and I pass away, my daughters can go back to my YouTube channel and see what dad was talking about. But the book is a crafted and a carefully crafted collection of your thoughts, specifically about one topic. So I think it's probably the best piece of legacy you can leave behind. They say every man needs to do three things: have kids, plant a tree, and write a book. So I've done all three, and writing a book is really, I wouldn't. I mean, having my kids is probably the best experience of my life, but writing a book is really cool.
I agree. It was a magical moment when I released my first book.
Yeah. And you've released a few already.
Yes, I do. I have
Yes.
4 available at the moment, and the 5th one is coming out in a
Yeah.
month or 2.
Like imagine like your kids and the people close to you can go back and say, oh, my friend wrote this, and they can hear your voice as
Mhm.
as they're reading it. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Congratulations anyway. Fifth
Well,
book
thank
coming in.
you. Thank you, Pedro. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for joining me. And
Appreciate it.
remember to follow Pedro. I'm going to put his links down there and in the comments, and hit that like and subscribe. And please share this with a friend, because I'm sure other people will be inspired after hearing from Pedro.
Cool. Thanks, guys.